Hello and welcome to a bit of a different platform insight interview. Lots of people here that I'm sure people across the industry will recognise. I'm Nicola Hayes, Chief Marketing Officer of Platform Markets Group, and we are here to talk about our mysterious charity challenge that I'm sure lots of you have seen all over your LinkedIn feeds with beautiful graphics, and wondering what on earth we have all signed up for. So the person that is leading this adventure, madness, whatever you want to call it, is of course Gary Watson. So I'm going to hand over to Gary, who can explain first of all what it is we've actually all signed up for, and why we're doing it. So Gary.
Thanks, Nikki. Hi, everyone. I'm Gary Watson. This year I decided to set a challenge in aid of St Anne's Hospice, which is served the Greater Manchester area for people with end of life, and they've been serving Manchester since 1971. They've just recently opened up their brand new state-of-the-art hospice in Heel Green. And it really does mean an awful lot to the people of Manchester and the people and the families that they care for. I guess personally for me, I unfortunately have spent far too long in that hospice after losing my father 12 years ago, and then only recently, about 12 months ago, my only sibling and my youngest sister Paula, who lost a battle to cancer. While I was stood in the corridor and being a proud Mancunian, I was looking at how the hospice really needed a lot of charitable donations. It's not one that is funded by the government, or the NHS, so it is purely funded by charitable donations. This year, they changed the name from St Anne's to Moya Cole, who was one of the founders. And it's an amazing state-of-the-art facility. And it, coming from Manchester and seeing what they're doing for families in the Northwest, all over the Northwest, it just kind of said, right, okay, how do I help? I've slept there personally for a number of weeks on end, and at the darkest days of my own personal experience. So it was a challenging time, but on the back of that, I think I know there are lots of people that do lots of good stuff across our industry. And I came up with the idea of doing a charity event. Last year, on a side note, we did in my previous employer, we did Cycle to Singapore. And that was really well. This year I want to do something absolutely crazy, right? And so I reached out to a company called Breaking Strain, and I said, guys, I'd like to take a number of I'm not going to say victims, but a number of volunteers to the Arctic and to do a 70+ kilometer walk across the Arctic. So we fly into Helsinki on the 27th of January. We transfer north to the most northerly tip of Finland, and then we take on the weather, the extreme weather. And also the fact that it is the 27th of January, so it's got to be the darkest days. And I guess that had resonated a little bit with myself to see how I could get 17 wonderful volunteers to join me and trek across the Arctic Circle in extreme weather conditions. And see what we could achieve together. The fact that we're going to be sleeping in tents as well, and hopefully singing a few songs around the campfire by frozen rivers. So yeah, that's that's really what we are doing. It's going to be challenging.
You do realise that victim and volunteer both start with the same letter.
Yeah, but they have two different meanings, right? We will be victims to the weather, but I am super delighted that 17 people, including yourself, Nikki, Dan, Nikki, and Rob, and everybody else that's come along, didn't hesitate and decided to just say yes, which was really humbling. And for me to try and raise £1 million on this adventure would mean a whole lot to those families that have sat in that room and that have seen their loved ones pass. And the staff in the hospice as well. They are like angels. There's no
other word.
There's no other word. And I'm also delighted to say one of the 17 didn't even need to get asked. And that's my 18-year-old nephew, who just said, yeah, let's do it. And for him to say that, who has gone through what he's gone through with his brother and sister, and his own challenges that he's had, to step out of that comfort zone actually really surprised me. So, for me, it has a whole lot of personal feelings. I think for me, there's an awful lot of pride with yourselves just going, yes. That was extremely humbling for every one of you just to say, yes, let's do it. Without actually...
So that, though, I want to know why people said yes, Gary, because, I'll come on to mine in a bit, but getting a WhatsApp out of the blue with a random, do you fancy going and freezing to death for 5 days and doing an Arctic challenge? What idiot says yes to that sort of thing? But I'll come on to mine in a minute. I want to know why Rob, Dan and Nikki have all said yes to this. And a follow-up question, why is it important that as an industry, we're a fabulous industry, why is it important that we come together to support one person with their cause as opposed to those bigger charities and those big name-grabbing things that, we've all said yes to this, we're all totally on board with the charity we're supporting, but with the exception of Gary and slightly myself, we don't have personal connections to that charity. So why agree to sign up? So I'm going to be sexist and go to Nikki first.
For me, you're right. I don't have any personal connection to the hospice, but I do have a very close relationship with Gary over the years, working with him closely, and I have seen his dedication to charities and to causes that really needed to be highlighted. And one of them was the Cycle to Singapore, which we worked closely on last year. I've seen what Gary has gone through. I have seen, how he has talked about this hospice and how it has helped him and his family navigate their way through such loss and such trauma. And for me, I find Gary an inspiration, and I would absolutely, without hesitation, say yes to any cause that he wants me to put my name to.
That's fantastic. Brilliant. I'm so glad you're coming along, Nikki. It's yeah.
I'm slightly terrified now, just to tell you. I'm terrified, but sure.
Me too. I'm glad you said that. And Rob, this is a world away from your usual day job in the offices of Evershed Sutherland. Why on earth did you say yes to our lovely Gary?
Yeah, look, I would echo what Nikki said. First and foremost, there is that inspirational quality to Gary, and you heard how he spoke a moment ago. It's clearly so passionate, and that's motivational in and of itself. It's an exciting challenge. I think it's important to be challenged. So there's that personal point in terms of pushing ourselves and pushing boundaries. And then I also cannot claim to have any particular connection to the hospice, but it's a wonderful cause. It's fairly easy. Anybody who has lost a close family member can associate themselves with the feelings that Gary described. So I can at least connect at that level. And finally, I have not had the opportunity since joining Evershed Sutherland to throw myself into a charitable activity. And so being given that opportunity by somebody who is incredibly enthusiastic, it's an amazing one. It was never really in doubt that I wanted to do it and say yes, notwithstanding that, of course, I have the same reservations about the weather, the dark, and the distance that we're going to have to hike. But it's super exciting. And also, are we allowed to answer your second question yet? Or
absolutely. I mean, I think that's quite an important question as well, is about supporting smaller charities and things that are more personal to somebody we know.
That's right. I guess the tangential point to that, and I know it's not quite what you're asking, but as an industry, data centres have come under the spotlight, and it's important that data centres demonstrate, the data centre industry demonstrates what it's doing to give back to the community. And that isn't just for the largest charities, it's across the board. So it's really valuable, I think, and credit to the industry that people are able to get together and put their collective energy into an initiative like this.
Absolutely. I think, I think it means more, actually, and certainly that community piece, actually supporting something that isn't the attention grabbing larger organisations that you will get there, having something that is more personal to somebody we've all worked with for many years, know personally. It makes it, even if it wasn't originally our story, it makes it part of our story. And I think it was Nikki that made a really good point about these are feelings we've all been with those feelings, regardless of whether we've had any history with the organisation, with the hospice at all. But yeah, Arctic Trek, we're all mad. Dan, why are you coming along on this ridiculous adventure?
Yeah, for me, it was actually first of all, I was thinking when Gary asked me to join, I thought it's such a great opportunity because it's something that we don't do every day, and it has big things towards the kind of extreme end as well. And on the professional environment, I have done some amazing projects with Gary. We have delivered some really high value output. So I see this one almost like taken to the next level. So it's such a great initiative, and yeah, I mean, rather than saying a victim, like I'm really glad that Gary actually invited me to join for that. Yeah, so I'm really looking forward for that. I mean, I can't cope it cold at all, but yes, but discovered undiscovered, eh? Yes. And then answering the second question, why these initiatives are important. It's a bit like Gary's own personal experience. We all have gone through some sort of like trauma in our life, I believe. So, for example, I lost my dad 35 years ago, and then I lost my elder brother as well. And then they weren't lucky enough to go through a hospice program. So actually, to have that institutional support is really helping for those people who are going through it, and also their close family as well. Yeah. So while I didn't have that, while I wasn't, lucky enough to have that support, and I think by supporting this one, we actually extend the support for others, almost like paying it forward. So I'm really looking forward to take part, and it's such a great initiative.
That's a really good point. And do you know what? That paying it forward concept, anyone watching this now from our industry, pay it forward, because we're all going to go through this at some point. Put your hands in your pockets and make sure you donate to our Arctic Trek. My story's a little bit of an odd one, because I got this text. I was in the car driving back from my family in Wales, and a little text comes through from Gary, "But I fancy doing an Arctic Trek." It's like, oh my God, he's bonkers. And I didn't dismiss it, but I thought that's ridiculous. And then I clicked on the link that he'd sent, and quickly realised that the hospice that he's raising money for is the hospice my mum worked at, when we were kids. So I can personally say how amazing those nurses are, because my mother was one of them. And we actually have pictures of myself and my sister in little tiny people sitting on the beds of the patients, going round, cheering them up, giving them a bit of a chat, a lot of elderly people in there. And for me and my sister, who were probably 5 and 6 at the time, to get free sweets. We saw the Orton Weavers there. They used to do a fantastic pantomime for all of the patients every single year, where all the doctors and consultants would come out and do a most ridiculous pantomime, and they would wheel all the people in their beds into the main area to give them that pantomime Christmas. And I said I was very, very young, but I will never, ever forget those memories. And I've asked my mother to try and find some of these photos so they can do it there. So the minute I saw that this was the St Anne's Hospice that I knew, and that we used to be taken from swimming lessons to go and pick up mum from work and go in and provide entertainment, that it was a no-brainer. That's the universe telling you that you've got to say yes to something. So I have my own personal connection, one that is on the other side of it rather than Gary's, thankfully for now. But I also, the value of hospices, and very few are funded properly in this country, and the value that they offer to, and this could be any of our siblings, our children, our parents, our grandparents, that hospice support and care is invaluable. So I'm just so pleased that we're doing this, because you know what, let's face it, we're all of a certain age. It's not like we're all 18, well, apart from Gary's nephew. So to prove to ourselves that we can do something like this, to come together as an industry, but to do it for such an amazing cause, Gary, well done for pulling this off and getting everyone together.
We've got to get there, yeah. But one of the tips I will give everybody, though, is that nobody buys snow boots in the summer, so you get good bargains.
That's a very good tip. Can we not get someone to sponsor them?
Yeah, absolutely. I've bought mine already. But no, I think the one thing that, we've been putting out there, all the person reveals. So, I'd like to say thank you for every one of you. Firstly, believing in me and not hesitating. Secondly, believing in the cause, because it does make a real difference. And, to your point, Nicola, about the larger organisations that have huge marketing spend behind them, with Moya Cole, it's very much every penny goes into the hospice, into the salaries, into the treatment, into the patients. And to see what they've been doing this year since it's opened, from, garden parties and, barbecues, all trying to raise some money. So I really hope that everybody in the industry, everybody that attends Platform Congress, can find it in their own hearts, and especially in their pockets, to put some money behind this cause. It'll mean so much to so many families. And, when we think of hospice and hospice care, as you said there, Nikki, is, it's about the elderly. It's really not. Right. As I said, I've spent weeks in there. I've slept in them. The care they gave to me during that time, and to my family during that time, was unbelievable. But the ages that you see in there, you see babies all the way through to the elderly. And until you've actually spent some time in a hospice, and I hope to God nobody has to go through it, but until you've actually spent some time in there and you've spoken to the patients or other families, or seen the charitable events that are going on, it really does bring it home in terms of how hard they work. And to get an industry like ours that work 24/7, and lots of us have done that for over 30 years, is work 24/7. But to see these people, and I'd say these angels, actually making a real tangible difference to people there and then, is just amazing. We as an industry do amazing things. We enable the digital ecosystem, we enable the blue light services or the hospitals, or to allow treatments like this every day, right? To be there and actually feel and touch the difference that we make as an industry in real life is really humbling. And for that, I can't thank you guys enough for joining. I can't thank the attendees at Platform Congress enough for actually supporting us and hopefully getting us to that 1 million. And then to the wider industry for supporting this, and for everybody to believe in me and do this without hesitation. I am so humbled by it, and I really do appreciate everybody for taking time out of their crazy days and going into the darkness and the cold for 6 days into the unknown. I just hope there aren't polar bears or wolves or the likes. I know Dan can run extremely fast, so I am in training.
Excellent. And just something to keep us warm. You know what? Polar bears got really nice fur, Gary. We'll be fine.
Yeah,
Exactly.
absolutely.
I don't think anyone else in the industry could have pulled this off with this amount of people and a cross section. It's not loads of people. There are people from your company, but it's a total cross section of the industry. So hats off to you for pulling this together, for persuading so many people to join you. And we'll chat again in February, shall we, and see how we're all feeling then.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we'll do some video updates as well, right?
I think we definitely should.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Thank you all for joining me today. We're going to do another one of these later on in our process with Gary's nephew, because we think it's really important to get the family side of things and someone that has been through this themselves as well. So keep an eye out for that. Thank you to Rob, Nikki, Dan and Gary. Let's get training.
Hopefully you'll be thanking me in February.
Let's see.